I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk, where we ain't scared. My name is A1, and thanks to everyone that has supported this podcast. This is the last official podcast of 2019. Wow. This particular decade is coming to an end. It's amazing to say that. This is the last podcast of 2019, of the last decade. The next, 7 days? It will be 2020, the next few days, I should say. So as this new decade starts and this new year begins, my hope is that whatever hopes and whatever dreams, whatever aspirations that you personally and professionally have for yourself, that they are achieved and that you get more out of it than you ever thought possible. Please don't wait for somebody else to confirm, to validate you, or to give you a green light. Give yourself a green light. It is your life. They're your dreams. They're your goals. Stop waiting for people. All right? Stop waiting for people. People don't appreciate what you have to bring to the table. They were never supposed to be at the table to begin with. All right? So, with that being said, thank you to those that have bought their mugs. These We Ain't Scared Talk mugs, they are incredibly strong. They are, dare I say, sexy? Dare I say? They are, I guess, wouldn't be tall, black, and handsome, but they are of good stature, black and handsome. All right. So if you need them, get on over to social media. I can give you more information on that. All right. So let's go and jump into today's topic. Now, today, my printer was cooperating, so I'm happy about that. And we're going to go ahead. I got to back on paper. I like the paper. I know something about how it feels in your hand. It's just, I don't know. I like it a lot better than reading off of a phone. So, as I said earlier, 2020 is coming, and make sure you pursue your dreams, okay? So today's topic, we're going to explore the sports world, or the world of sports. As you all know on this show, we talk about any and every topic. It does not matter if black people are involved in any way, shape, or form. I'm certain there's something that can be discussed about how we're being unfairly treated and how we need to take some evasive action. So, again, exploring the world of sports, but more specifically black athletes in the world of sports and how they're treated by white America. So today's topic is, should black athletes withhold their talents from white America? Again, should black athletes withhold their talents from white America? Now, I am going to try to make this as cohesive as possible, but let me first say this. As of late, I think the most recent hot button athlete, Colin Kaepernick, the NFL, there was this major debacle a few weeks ago where the NFL allegedly was seriously considering, they seemed to be setting up a workout where the owners could send in scouts to watch Colin perform or play. And as it turns out, the whole thing seems to have been a ruse. It wasn't serious. There was something about this waiver that if he had signed it, at least the theory goes legally that he would have signed away all of his rights to ever sue the NFL again and for collusion or anything else for that matter. So he didn't do it, and he put his own workout together, and it was open to the press, and he sent it to the teams, 32, and as of late, as of this podcast, nobody has reached out to him. So it tells me that the NFL was insincere. And I know Jay is in there and he's doing his thing. He's got his work cut out for him. My thing is this. Just no divide and conquer. Please, no divide and conquer. Jay-Z is good at what he does, which is building relationships and under very difficult situations. Colin is good at what he does. He's on the field. He's a good, in terms of his persona, fighting for the rights of black people. And Jay's doing the same thing. So there is no divide and conquer. There is no one is better or worse than the other. This was about police brutality from the beginning. So let's not get it twisted. Colin was protesting police brutality, and Jay stepped in, and he's trying to quell the waters of oppression as well. So let me get this thing off my screen here. He's popping up. Man, I got a lot of pop-ups. So anyway, so as I said, I'm going to try to make this as cohesive as possible, but to be honest, it's not going to be easy because there have been so many black athletes throughout racist American history, and to narrow it down to a few athletes, that's the challenge. But here we go. So let me tell you where all this started, and then we can move forward from there. I mentioned Colin Kaepernick. Okay, he took a knee in 2016 in a peaceful protest that set off an atomic bomb of racist responses in a country already on fire from over 400 years of racism, discrimination, oppression, and of course we know that's rooted in slavery. There's no secret, racist white folks lost their minds. Now, on the one hand, I appreciated knowing that nothing has changed in this country, okay, again, by the response, the negative response. And on the other hand, I was surprised at just how hateful supposedly progressive white America hasn't come. So there's a lot of talk about this country being post-racial. People like saying that, post-racial. And it's just racial and racist as hell. Ain't nothing changed, people, nothing about America and how it views black people. White America sits on this hierarchy that it wants to maintain. That's pretty obvious. And that's white people on the top and black people on the bottom. But of course, you know, to me, that don't mean shit. Right? I'm going to call white folks out every single time they step out of line. Every single time. Every time. And we didn't get into this overnight, this whole upside down, this hateful racism, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. It was beat into black people daily for over 250 years, and we have to beat it out of us, if you allow that expression, but beat it into the minds, I should say, of white America that this is wrong. So, thank you for allowing me that. So again, Kaepernick. He peacefully protested police brutality by saying he refuses to stand for a flag that oppresses black people and people of color. And he's correct. And after he took this stance, meaning the knee, he was not and is still not signed by an NFL team. Now, freedom of speech is something that white people enjoy and want for themselves daily. But when a black person takes advantage of the same freedoms, then white folks get their panties in a bunch and get hateful and vengeful. White America loves the talents that black people possess on the playing field, i.e., basketball, football. But at the same time, they despise us when we're not running and or jumping. So they can, what? Win bets. Or help with their fantasy football leagues or fantasy basketball leagues or whatever fantasy, interesting, they are into. That's the only time they know everything about us. They know our stats, our height, our weight, our averages per yard, and what shoe size we wear. And in just a weird way, it does remind me of slavery. Just how they can size us up and they choose the biggest, the strongest, the fastest. There's some element to that. We're always on some sort of, shopping chart or selling block. But anyway, black men and women, as I wrote here, are only good for entertainment for non-black people. This is in the minds of a white person, as I see it. But as soon as the fun is over, game over, fourth quarter over, we're relegated to second-class citizens until next Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night football. So to continue the thoughts on should black athletes withhold their talents from white America. Let's go back to the early 20s, 1920s. Jack Johnson. He was the first black heavyweight of the early 1920s, and then we'll come forward all the way up to LeBron James. So Jack Johnson, he was born John Arthur Johnson on March 31st, 1878, and he died on June 10th, 1946. He dominated the boxing world between 1908 and 1915. He was the most dominant heavyweight in the world for 13 years. Jack Johnson beat the literal brakes off of every white challenger, and this was in a time when white boys thought they were the best. And this, of course, did not go over well with white men of the day. So they set out to destroy him in any way they could. They knew Jack liked white women. And ultimately, they put him in jail for RICO, or trafficking women or white women. And this was across state lines. But the truth is, the white women he was with, they were usually either his girlfriends or his wife. But white men didn't care. All they knew was he was beating their ass in the ring and blowing out the backsides of their white women outside of the ring. Ding, ding. Okay? Jack was and is still the greatest heavyweight of all time because he fought when the length of fights was upwards of 18 rounds or more. And this was outside in the heat until one of the men was left standing. This was the most brutal form of pugilism, and it symbolized a turning point in black men being perceived as strong inside and outside the ring, because Jack was brash and he loved to spend money and he loved to show off his fancy purchases, kind of like Mayweather, to name a current incredible fighter. And he did this in front of white men that thought they were the only ones with money or that ability. Now, ultimately, Jack died after a car crash, but his legacy will live on forever. And again, he paved the way for all the greats, and he did it under the most hateful of racist and racial animosity. Okay? He opened up the doors for Mayweather, Tyson, Mike Tyson, there's Fury now, Wilder, Deontay Wilder, pardon me, Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, and many others. Now let's fast forward to LeBron James, who is arguably, aside from Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player on the planet. Now the only difference is Jordan has 6 rings and LeBron has 3. And if we're defining greatness, then of course, Michael Jordan wins that hands down. But LeBron was told to shut up and dribble by Laura Ingraham on Fox, or of Fox News, when he was talking about politics, when he criticized Trump. But of course, Ingraham, again, being on Fox News, one of the most racist-ass TV networks on the planet. So I wasn't surprised. The only thing I was surprised at is how the network is still on the air. But this is America. Hate and racism has no boundaries. Now, there are many fans, of hate and racism. We know that. But what I think about is how many black people go to work every day with white people that act like they like them but secretly they do not, because they are neo-Nazis, skinheads, or a member of some KKK organization. But not to digress too far from LeBron, even has he had his home, his Hollywood Hills home, tagged, and it was spray painted with the word nigger. And this was a couple of years ago. So you have this billionaire black athlete, okay, who is bringing billions of dollars and putting them in the white people's pockets. He's ascended to the highest levels of success that any white person could ever achieve, and he still receives no respect, and he's still called a nigga. And again, I just want to remind you of the title based on that. Should black athletes withhold their talents from white America under these conditions? Now, LeBron has to be the most liked or loved basketball star on the planet. And that, I think that's without question. But isn't it interesting? With all that alleged love, all this hate is still percolating. Now, to turn the page to a female, a black female, Simone Biles. And round of applause for Simone Biles. This black female gymnast is the most decorated Olympic athlete in U.S. history. She's so decorated and skilled, and rightfully so, that she created 2 new gymnastics moves that had never been done or seen before. As a matter of fact, they were named after her, and that speaks to her dominance. And again, kudos. I respect any athlete, but in particular black women out here doing their thing. Trust me, you have my support. And Simone was so good, or is so good, that white folks that couldn't compete with her, guess what? They started complaining about her because she's so good. They actually attempted to adjust the rules to try to help prop up the white athletes so that they could compete. It's an old narrative. When black athletes are better, or we're starting to beat what they perceive as the best white athlete, what do? They move the finish line. In my opinion, Simone Biles should be on every cereal box, magazine cover, and TV show in America right now. She's earned it, and she deserves it. So again, I ask, should black athletes withhold their talents from white America? Okay. The next athlete I want to talk about is Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was a wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Oakland Raiders, and a very short stint in New England, the Patriots. Now, in 2019, he had a roller coaster ride of a career path. He changed teams so fast that it was hard to keep up. He walked away from $30 million with the Oakland Raiders and then signed with the New England Patriots, all the while fighting 2 rape allegations from 2 different women. Now, keep in mind, he has not been charged with a crime of any kind. I want to be clear there. He is a free man and available to play for any team. Okay, but unfortunately, he is not signed. Now, I brought this up on social media. The issue I have with Ben Roethlisberger, he also had two rape allegations that he had to deal with, and he never lost the opportunity to play in a single game in the NFL. Not a single game. Go figure. Antonio Brown, black. Ben Roethlisberger, white. And to continue, Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, who himself, ironically, is fighting a prostitution solicitation charge in Florida. He had the nerve to release Antonio Brown because he said his sexual accusations were a distraction for the team. Pot, meet kettle. So you can get a hand job and it be on video, but somehow Antonio Brown and these alleged rape allegations are a distraction. Okay, let me continue. Now, New England has also been caught in a string of cheating scandals. We all remember Deflategate, where they deflated the ball to make it harder to hold on to for the opponent. Most recently, Spygate, where New England was caught spying or videotaping the Cincinnati Bengals practice so they can learn their play calling. Yeah, this is a fine, upstanding organization. You might as well put them right beside the Catholic Church. They are so perfect and they're so, oh, no, I would never do. Come on, man. Come on, man. So in the end, white men can rape, cheat, and lie, and everything is all good. But the black man that is merely accused of something has to be crucified, humiliated, and literally disenfranchised with no recourse or recourse, other than to let the waters recede and hope you can still play the game that you were born to be great at and that you love. Black athletes, I admit it, they're in a tough situation because they are, I should say, persecuted daily by systemic racism and oppression. And white people think that just because you have a $100 million contract, that somehow black people have no right to complain about racism. And that's the idiocy, that somehow they think, well, you're living a good life, you're playing for $100 million or what have you, so you have no right to complain about racism. What the hell does a $100 million contract have to do with the fact that somebody spray painted the word nigger on my $1 million home? Now, I'm a man first. Let's get that right. I'm a man first. And no man is going to tolerate disrespect from anybody, no matter how much money he or she makes. And the truth is, neither would you, or neither would they. The ugly, sort of other truth is, white men cannot handle it when a strong black man is taking advantage of the same societal benefits of wealth that they do, and secretly, those same white men resent having to be in a room with a black man that is worth more or that can spend more than they can. And then you add the fact that our penises are bigger and that their women want us more than they want them. And it's a recipe for disaster. Yes, it all comes down to penis size. I'm telling you, we want to flower and deny and avoid, and we want to paint this picture. Look, it's always been about black male penises being bigger than white male penises. That's why whenever there was an attack on a black man physically, especially in during slavery and in the early 19th century, they would always go for the black male penis. It's a sickness. But let me not digress, okay? Black athletes are the only reason the NBA and the NFL are worth billions of dollars. If you were to replace every black athlete in these leagues with white athletes, trust me, that league would tank overnight. It would go virtually bankrupt overnight, instantly. We are the flavor and the sauce and the swag that makes the engine run. Without us, there is no league at all, which always leads me to the question, how come black athletes don't just start their own league? I mean, of any kind. The truth is, there is still a lot of mistrust in the black community, and I'm aware of that, okay? There's a lot of that. For most of these athletes, they're the first in their families to become multi-millionaires, and they're scared to jeopardize it. I understand it. They would much rather deal with the hate and racism and take the money so they can set themselves up for life, which again, come on, you can't be mad at that. But I wish we could find some kind of happy medium where we're working together. We could make so many more millions of dollars in the long run than what they have today. But of course, the long run is not as powerful as the short run for a lot of people, especially when your family has been struggling to make ends meet for years while you were growing up. Okay, so you have a $30 million contract. That is huge. That is life-changing for generation after generation after generation. I get it. And now you have people depending on you to maintain that. It's a tough decision with no easy answer. But when has the Black existence ever been easy? It's what I keep going back to. It's never been easy. So to answer the question myself, should the Black athlete withhold their talents from white America? Yes, unequivocally, yes, hell yes. They should. But the time and patience it would take to do it, I'm afraid it just isn't there. There has to be something or somewhere for them to go so that they don't feel like they're wasting their time and talents and opportunities to maximize their money-making abilities. I get it. Okay, you don't want to put your talents up on a shelf while you're trying to get black athletes on the same page. I get it. But at some point, we as a group have got to figure this out. Even if it's with the guys that have been in the league for over 5 years, that have the money in the bank and that can start building a Black sports infrastructure for these young Black athletes, I mean, at least consider it. Just consider it. Will it be easy? No. But when has, again, ever anything been easy for Black people? We have got to understand that nothing good ever happens without sacrifice. And yes, it will be painful and uncomfortable initially, but it will be worth it for the next generation of Black athletes. Okay? Now, I'm certain you have your own thoughts on this topic, and that's great. Keep the conversation going. It is important, it is necessary, it is imperative. Okay? So I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk. My name is A1, and you got some good food for thought. Listen again. Tell a friend. We ain't scared.